Now we're going to take a few moments to explore just how Pinckney Hill Commons came about. So welcome, ladies, and let's have a conversation about this.
Thank you for having me. So Pinckney Hill Commons was a vision, was an idea starting in 2018. The Milton Center came and approached me and my team in regards to a possible partnership of bringing in affordable housing to the Westchester community, which was needed. A lot of folks that grew up in Westchester, they told me, got pushed outside of Westchester, and they wanted to come home and raise their children, but there wasn't anything affordable. So I heard their need, I heard their vision, and we decided that this was going to be a good partnership as long as we could get the local government involved and have their support, that the entities that were the decision makers could make this happen. So that was really exciting. We started with community meetings to make sure the community was vested and interested in the development. And that started in September of 18. And then we quickly turned and looked to the local government to say who were the players at the local government. Diane LeBeau at the time was the chair of council, and we got her involved pretty quickly. We did not have to convince her whatsoever. She was very excited about it, about the vision, about the idea. Everybody was a little nervous. Can this really happen? I was emphatic that it could, because we had done it before in other communities. So I thought this was an amazing vision to bring to Westchester. So there was a lot of collaboration between the local government, the Milton Center, and Church Housing Corp. And a lot of education had to go into that, educating folks on what the process is, how long it will take. Even though we were starting in 18, I explained it's years, it takes years. We did open Pinckney Hill Commons in June of 2022, which sounds like a long time, but that's actually pretty quick for a development. And we went through the process with the local government, and we were very successful. So the partnership with the local government, after we got the community buy-in, was really sitting down with Diane, which we did, and told her the vision, and then she took it to her council and talked to the council about what affordable housing will mean to Westchester. If you want to talk a little bit about those conversations with council.
Yeah, that was an easy conversation, actually, because that particular council was very open and totally understood the need for affordable housing. They were watching people get pushed out, as you said. I personally knew people, because Milton Center is in my ward, so I personally knew some of the older folks who had been renting for 30 years, and suddenly their rents were being raised beyond their ability to pay, and they were looking at having to move out of town where they had spent most of their lives. And this was not acceptable in my mind, and it certainly, council really understood that. So that was why we were open to this particular project. But also the other half of the reason we were open to the project was because of the Milton Center. The revitalization of the Milton Center we saw as critical, because they had fallen on hard times in the 1990s, and they weren't able to offer the programs or the services that 80 years before they had been able to offer, and that was a great loss to the community. And our fear was that if this project doesn't happen, because we could see that the financial arrangement was going to provide income to the center in a way that make them able to offer the programs and services that they once had offered. We did not want them to end up in a financial situation where they had to close their doors, because that would be a huge loss to that part of the community, and that stabilizing influence of the center would be gone. So that was that was why council, so it's two-pronged. It was, of course, we need affordable housing. We have to be able to offer something so so some of those people can stay in the borough, but also we wanted to make sure that the Milton Center stayed alive.
Well, one of the things it sounds as if you had people who were, yes, this is absolutely what we want to do.
Right.
But we always hear about all the obstacles in
Yes.
communities. So what had to be overcome other than those people that were completely in favor of this happening?
Yeah, well, when in the community meetings that Catherine mentioned, a questionnaire was handed out, and I think most of the responses were positive. But what I was hearing from, I get cornered when I go outside of the meetings, was people who were really concerned, mainly about, at least when they were saying to me, mainly about the loss of the green space, because the Melton Center property is a big property, and a big chunk of it on the east side was all just lawn and green and trees, and they did not want to lose that. It was the only green space remaining in that area. So, and that was one of the complaints. I was trying to say, well, you know, green space or Melton Center, which do you want? You know?
I'd just like to go back and talk about the collaboration that we had for some of the things that people were concerned about, the green space. The Milton Center had more green space on the other side of their building as well that we enhanced. We put in a playground. We moved their flower beds from one side to the other. We moved their shed. So we enhanced the other side of the green space to make it more usable for the community, which I think was fantastic. And as Diane had said, one of the other concerns was transportation and vehicles being parked. There is a bus stop right in front of the development, and we volunteered to put in a bus shelter right there, right on Market Street for the whole community to use. And most of our folks that live there, 90 to 95% of them are working folks. They only have one vehicle. So it wasn't your typical 2 vehicles per unit, and some of our folks don't have vehicles, and they were using the bus system before they came to us, and they continued because it was so incredibly easy to walk out right in front and continue to use the public transportation. So those barriers that were brought up in the very beginning of the development, we did educate and address those with the community as well as with council, because we got up and talked about that. We have a long history. So these developments can only be built with collaboration. They can't be built in a bubble. You need community support, local government support, and of course, a developer that's willing to execute these developments, because these are not for. These developments don't make money. They really are gifts back to the community. So Church Housing Corp is happy to be that partner. We usually take about a year to develop and put together a project. This one came to me 120 days prior to the application being due. So it was a challenge in regards to time. So we had a lot of dedicated people in the community that came on board very quickly to be able to do community meetings, to be able to answer questions, to be able to put those together. And we were so lucky we were able to meet at the Milton Center, which has big space. So, you know, at one of our meetings, we had over 100 people, and it was standing room only. But they really were very curious and really wanted the proper information of what possibly could happen in conjunction with the Milton Center. So we spent many Saturday mornings talking to the community, answering questions, and really educating people about what this is all about. Because this is not public housing, this is not low-income housing, it really was a workforce deal. So that was a lot of fun. I got to know a lot of people. Many of those folks ended up applying to Pinckney Hill Commons, and we are working with them today because they've got a unit. So that was really exciting. We, as Diane said, we went through the entire process. It took from application, then we had about a year of doing stuff with the borough, making sure that zoning was in place. making sure all the things met all of the federal rules and the state rules and the local rules. The solicitor was amazing. She was absolutely amazing. And later I learned this was her first deal that she worked on that was affordable housing, and she learned a lot. So she was very excited about the development. So that took about a year because they only meet about once a month. We had a few emergency meetings, so to speak, or they met a little bit sooner. Instead of the 4 weeks, maybe they did 3 weeks, because we were all on the same board and trying to get this deal together and through and ready. We found out that we were funded in the first round by PHFA, which was extremely exciting. It usually takes 2 to 3 years to get funded. But we were ready for the money because zoning was almost in place, and we were ready. So once that happened, you close and then you break ground. Unfortunately, there was a little bit of delay with closing with PHFA. So we didn't break ground till December, which was not an easy go, but we did it. And then we have a year to build from there. And there were some bumps and bruises through that process. The ground was a little wetter than we had anticipated. So we had to, make sure the ground could hold the building, and we had to do some extra things there. And the borough made it very clear to us that stormwater management was very important, so we knew that. We needed to, because it was a bit wetter than we expected, we needed to put in an upgrade to the stormwater management system. 41 apartments and 10 townhouses later, we have processed almost 1,000 applicants to date. The first day we took applications, we processed 324 applications for 51 units. The need is great. We have over 300 people on a waiting list for the 51 units. We have between 1 bedrooms and 4 bedrooms, which is unusual. Not a lot of deals do 4 bedrooms, but when we talked to the community, there were some families that needed the larger units, and we decided that was important. So the development kept moving. It was a lot of fun. We hit bumps and bruises, but what was fantastic was the collaboration between the borough, the Milton Center, and Church Housing Corp. We kept it moving. We thought outside the box and came up with solutions to the bumps and bruises that came up. And today it is a beautiful addition to the community. The folks love living there, and we enjoy working with each and every one of them.
Yep. Well, I think this is a tremendous success story in bringing some affordable and attainable housing to the Westchester area. And I'm so glad that the two of you had success getting this done. Thank you for all your hard work.
Yes, and I have to say that I really appreciated Catherine's ability to make things clear to people who were may not have fully understood what we were trying to achieve. So thank you for that.
And I thank you for being supportive from day one. Diane was on board, and we were so excited about that.
Yeah.
So I thank you. It was a great partnership. It continues to be a great partnership.
Right. And the Melton Center is thriving.
Thriving.
Yes,
Thriving.
and that is a huge contribution.
Right. Yes.
And the wonderful thing we can take from this kind of thing is helping the rest of the community understand the need for more, understand the process a little bit, so that they understand how complicated it can all be. But if we're all on the side of getting it done, we can do more.
And it can actually be very simple if you just set your mind to it and have a good solicitor. If you're a municipality that wants to do something like this. Yeah.
Right.
It can be done.
Yes.
That's right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.